Hopefully you all survived the night in one piece, and your meditation also was something you managed to maintain until this morning, and building on that as time went on. Thank you for taking the time with all the paperwork, but this morning I'll try to explain, not just for yourselves, but for the rest of the group as well, what that all means in terms of meditation. And we'll have some meditation together for an hour, I think, this morning, and then your the first of your choices of topics, I will embark on that before lunchtime. So, if you have received a little slip of paper, it has 3 parts on it. The part on the left, as you hope you hold it the right way up, and the part in the middle are basically just to do with what the psychological type that sort of was calculated from your preferences would look like. And that's not really anything to do with this meditation retreat, but it's useful self-knowledge. You may or may not agree with what has come out, but hopefully you recognize something of yourself in that. And if that's the case, then it probably means that the advice for meditation will be also accurate for you. I should say that for psychological type, even if it's slightly wrong, generally the meditation advice still works out good. So what we'll do is look at psychological type and the preferences that go with them. And if you're not familiar with Myers-Briggs, then you'll probably realize, you may not realize that there's no right or wrong. There's no sort of failures on this test. But what it does is it separates up everyone into society into 16 different psychological types. Yeah? But the number of types is not equal. And if we look at each of those types, then each of the types seem to have a route or a route through meditation progress which seems to suit them the best. So we'll look at these in order of starting with the most common routes and moving towards the more esoteric ones. So what you see is 2 columns. On the left is what we start with when we are very new to the meditation. So what we did last night was a version of 7 bases, and that's where I would recommend anyone who is doing meditation for the first time to start their practice. Once they have become familiar with the center of the body, then they can move to the right-hand column where there are 4 choices. Okay? So the way you start out with meditation can be with either with a mantra to help you. Let me see if I can get it to be a So, if we're looking at the top one, then it's using the mantra, Samarahang. If it's the bottom one, then it's doing the same thing, but without the need for the mantra. Okay? As for the choices in the right-hand column, there are basically 4 choices. Once your mind becomes established at the center, then you can work with the mantra alone. So in that case, you'd just be hearing the mantra. You don't need to think of anything. You don't need to visualize anything. Just the sound of the mantra and the location of that should manage to keep your mind in place. Second alternative is working with the inner feeling, which means not using a picture, but feeling that you have an object there, like the invisible fruit I was talking about last night. In fact, this is the most common way forward for most people. Observation means not putting anything into the mind, but just seeing what is already there and working with that. So whatever arises in the mind, that becomes your object of meditation. Even if it's darkness, then you observe the darkness. So darkness you treat not like the lack of something, but as an object in itself to be observed further, if you get my meaning. Visualization is a classic Dhammakaya way of meditating, where you think of a picture in the mind, and that is the object of your meditation. So we'll go through in terms of the type groupings. ENFJ, ESFJ, ISFJ, ESFPs. This is 40% of the meditators generally. Start on 7 bases without the mantra, and once they've got settled at the center of the body, moving forward with inner feeling. Yeah? Next set. ENFPs, INFJs, 13% of the folks normally, 7 bases without the mantra, and then proceeding by observation. Observation sometimes is referred to as a sort of Zen meditation, because it's, you don't put anything in, you just sit and observe. Yeah. INTPs, ESTJs have the good luck to be able to skip the 7 bases generally and just go directly to using the mantra. So what you might consider a fast track. Yeah. So what I taught you last night, you can just forget about it, go for the mantra at your center. This means that those two groups tend to find it easy to center their mind without any help. But this is not, generally speaking, that's not the case. ISTJs, ESTPs, starting with 7 bases with the mantra and moving on to inner feeling. So an object which you feel at your center, not a picture. It's important because otherwise people strain to see something too much, and that affects their meditation adversely. Yes, go ahead. Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. You have to pretend that you're a beginner, in which case it would be an object you felt. But I gather that you're not so much of a beginner anymore, so you've been meditating for some time. You already have a feeling which arises by itself. You continue to observe that feeling, and that feeling will be what keeps your mind on track. Even if there are pictures that come up by themselves, then it's still the feeling that guides you most accurately. Yeah. Next group, ISFPs, INFPs. Starting with the 7 bases without the mantra, and then moving on to the classic Dhammakaya thing, visualizing that inner picture. Notice it's only 2 groups out of the 16, not too many. ISTPs, ENTJs, starting the 7 bases with the mantra, and then moving on to more of just the mantra. You know why the mantra is very important for these groups? It's generally the T bit means that you're big thinkers and they never stop thinking, so you need the mantra to counteract that. INTJs, getting down to the quite specialist groups now. starting with 7 bases with the mantra and then moving on to observation. So the Zen sort of approach, just taking it as it comes and seeing where it takes you. ENTPs, only 1%. What I noticed in the States is there seem to be more with P's on the end than in England. Another fast track and straight to observation, which means they'll probably be quite at home in a Zen temple. But if they're here, then observation is the way to go, and skipping the 7 bases would also work quite well for this particular group. Yeah? Any questions at this point? Some people say, well, that's not quite right for me, but now you know what the alternatives are. So if you find that it's not working for you according to the sort of prediction on your little piece of paper, then you know the other 4 alternatives to try and see whether they work out better for you. Yeah? You can only learn so much about yourself from ticking boxes. And I also had the difficulty that some people ticked all the boxes, not one or other of the boxes, which sort of slowed me down slightly. That may lead to some inaccuracy. Okay, so I did manage to get some sort of psychological type out for you in spite of your enthusiasm to tick all the boxes you were given. You can keep the little slip of paper, but the piece that's stapled to it, if you have the chance to just to put in the agree strongly, agree not certain, disagree strongly, one, it only takes about 10 seconds, and return that. It will help out the next generation of meditators who hopefully will not only have a vague guidance for their meditation type, but it will actually be statistically significant from the number of people who have combined their type and the meditation preferences. Okay, so if you have a moment to do that at some stage, that would be really helpful. Thank you. So we sit for some meditation this morning, before the heat gets up too much, and then afterwards we'll move on to some consideration of the topic of forgiveness, which came in at number 1 on the meditation topic election. Yeah. I should say, from the point of view of meditation, anyone who is new, today after relaxing our body for 5 minutes, relaxing our mind for 5 minutes, you can visualize, you can observe, you can think of a tactile object, or you can stay with the mantra. But having relaxed oneself, there's no need to go through those first 6 bases unless you feel a particular need to do that. And you can have the mantra or not, depending on what you feel is helpful for you. But we will go straight to the center of the body this time round, to give ourselves more time and more familiarity with the center. If you'd like to start by settling yourself into a comfortable posture for yourself in meditation. Closing your eyes very gently. Much the same way you might close your eyes to go to sleep. slowing yourself down and relaxing by taking a few deep breaths to yourself. Breathing in the cool, refreshing air from around you, and breathing slowly and smoothly out again. Once again, breathing to the full extent of your lungs. And as you breathe out, you may feel that you are letting go of any previous worries or concerns you may have had. From there, we do our normal pre-flight check to make sure our body is properly relaxed for the meditation ahead. And this involves scanning down through the whole of our body to make sure each and every muscle of our body is properly relaxed. So relaxing our forehead, releasing any tension in the muscles there. Then relaxing our eyebrows and our eyelids, taking care that the way we have closed our eyes is as gentle as possible. There's no need to squeeze our eyes tightly shut. It really is only necessary to close our eyes to the point where our upper and lower eyelashes are only just touching together. And we allow the muscles of our face to become soft. Relaxing our jaw, taking care not to clench our teeth together. And avoiding even pursing our lips. From there we relax the muscles of our neck. If our shoulders are tense, we allow them to drop to their natural height. Then we relax both arms, our forearms, and eventually our hands and fingers, so that the way our hands rest in our lap is as light as possible. And we continue by relaxing all the muscles in our torso, relaxing our chest, our trunk, and eventually the whole of our abdomen. Taking particular care to relax the muscles across our stomach. We relax both legs, all the way down to our feet and our toes. Till eventually all the way from the top of our head right the way down to the tips of our toes, we feel satisfied. There's no remaining part of our body with any sort of stress or tension anymore. If we do notice places where tension seems to linger on, we do our best to relax it as far as we can. And it should leave us with a sense that our whole body is something we can forget about, or as if it seems to melt away into the atmosphere around us, allowing us to turn our attention instead to the feeling on the inside, a sense of warmth and well-being, or a sense of inner space. And even this feeling on the inside is something we can relax further if we're able to let go for a few moments of all the normal worries and concerns we associate with our everyday life. Even the urgent things we try to put on one side for now, perhaps with a promise to ourselves that we can come back to think about them at a later time. And there's also a sense in which, by physically coming within the space of the meditation center for our retreat, there's a lot of things that we have left behind in our workplaces and our homes that are no use to bring with us. We need to make sure that that same letting go is something that we do with our mind, so that we can make full use of our time on the meditation retreat. So we try not to dwell on any regrets in our past. Also avoiding the temptation to make plans for the future. Being very much in the here and now, as the present moment is the only place we can really make any difference in our life. So we try to focus on the task in hand, gathering our attention back from any possible distractions in the outside world to a place of peace and serenity that lies inside us. Generally, the best place is somewhere around the area of our stomach. And by maintaining our attention inside us, it will help our mind to absorb the positive energies of the inner world. At the same time, although we may be aware of what's going on around us, we find that what's on the outside doesn't actually perturb our mind anymore. Instead, our mind absorbs the positive qualities from the inside, a sense of happiness and joy, as if our whole mind were filled with tiny particles of happiness and joy, which then spread to fill the whole of our body and mind. When we feel relaxed and refreshed, both in body and in mind, very gently, using no effort at all, We imagine the inside of our body to be nothing but an empty space or a hollow cavity, without any organs or tissues, without any muscles or bones. Or some people may prefer to imagine their body as being like a transparent bubble, with nothing on the inside. Others who've been meditating longer may have more of a sense that their body has disappeared completely. And meditation is rather like inhabiting a great empty space of our own creation. But whatever your experience of the inner space, allow the focus of your attention to drift slowly downwards on the midline of your body, drifting downwards until it seems to come to rest somewhere in the area of your stomach. In the ideal world, of course, the place will be the seventh base of the mind, the center of the body. But in practice, we tend to use our feeling to tell us the correct place. If it feels right, then it generally is right. For some people, simply bringing the mind into place will already give rise to inner experience, which we can then adopt as the object of our meditation. If that is the case, then any inner imagery or inner feeling can form the focus for our attention. And our brief in the meditation would be simply to observe the way in which that inner experience transforms further. However, if you are newer to the meditation practice, or if you are still in some doubt about the exact position of the center of the body, it may be necessary to conjure up some sort of inner object of your own as a starting point for the mind. Such an inner object may be something you can feel, or it may be something you can see. An example of something you can feel might be like an invisible fruit, the presence of which you can feel at the center of your body. Be like a grape or a small nectarine, with a certain weight and texture, a certain size and temperature, resting at the center of our body and acting like an anchor for the mind. If you're more into a visual practice, then it might be that same picture of the shining sun, which we were familiar with since last night's meditation. Picture the sun shining with a bright, clear light, and not particularly mattering whether the picture is in focus. Even if it's vague, then we accept it anyway. And if we do find that our attention is distracted away by other things, each time we realize, we simply bring the attention back again. If we're new to meditation, then we may need to persevere with bringing the mind back repeatedly. But each time we do bring the mind back to the center, it will become a little bit easier to keep it there the next time round. It wanders and we bring it back. The inner object disappears, then we can conjure up a new one. The object transforms, then instead of changing it back, we follow it in its new form. And as for the problem of there being an excess of thought in the mind, if you find that is the case, then you may be able to reduce the number of thoughts simply by ignoring them, by starving them of attention. But if the number of thoughts in the mind is really too many, simply to ignore, it may be necessary to return to our good friend, the mantra, hearing the sound of the words Samma Arahang coming up from the center of our body or from the center of that inner object. Almost like a silent music. Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, Samma Arahang, over and over again, lightly, gently and continuously, helping to keep our mind on track at the center, but also reducing the number of thoughts in the mind down to a manageable level, until we reach a point where the mind seems to have settled into silence. So we maintain our mind with the utmost of gentleness, never rushing the process, never trying to force our hand. Continue in this way for a few more moments now in silence, until we come to the appropriate time. Samarang, Samarang, over and over again, lightly, gently, and continuously, helping to keep your mind on track at the center of the body, while at the same time reducing down the number of thoughts in the mind to a manageable level, eventually to a point where only silence reigns in the mind. The mind can focus on the inner object that we have chosen. We find our attention wandering away to other things. Each time we realize, we bring our attention back. The object disappears, we can think of a new one. If it changes, we follow it in its new form. If we feel uncomfortable, we can try changing or adjusting our position, but we try to do so in a way that neither perturbs the state of mind inside ourselves that we've built up for ourselves, nor disturbs the people around us. So we continue to keep our mind on track in this way for a few more moments in silence, lightly and gently, continuously at the center of our body, for a few more moments now in silence. attention at the center of the body the whole the time. Always at the center of whatever inner experience we've built up for ourselves as a result of the meditation so far this morning. For some people, the inner experience will add up to a sense of inner brightness, in which case we can place our attention at the center of the inner brightness very gently, in a way that allows the brightness to spread outwards from that central point. For others for whom the meditation is something more like an inner feeling, you can place the attention very gently at the center of the feeling, in a way that allows the inner feeling to become larger in size, spreading outwards from that central point. For others still, it will be some sort of inner picture. And in the same way, we can place our attention very gently at the center of the picture, in a way that allows the picture to become larger in size, spreading outwards. This process of allowing the inner experience to expand is known as the spreading of loving kindness. And initially we allow our inner experience to extend in this way until it fills the whole of our own body, making the wish at the center of ourselves that we may be well and happy, free from all suffering. And again from our center, but extending the loving kindness outwards beyond ourselves. We allow the loving kindness to spread outwards to fill the whole of the meditation hall, further still outwards to the whole of the meditation center, while at the same time making the wish at the center of ourselves that all living beings in the meditation center may be touched by our loving kindness. Those living beings may be well and happy, free from all suffering, live together in peace and harmony. And again from our center, but extending our loving kindness further still. If it's easier, we can imagine spreading loving kindness across a map seen in bird's eye view. We extend loving kindness outwards, the whole of Azusa, further outwards to the whole of LA, in all directions all around. Extending our loving kindness so that it touches all living beings in the valley. The wish that all those living beings may be well and happy, free from suffering, and live together in peace and harmony. Extending loving kindness to the whole of California, to the neighboring states, and to all the states of America. The wish that all living beings therein be touched by our loving kindness, and all those living beings may be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. Extend loving kindness to the whole of North America, further still to all the continents of the world. So that our loving kindness extends across the whole of the face of this planet, making the wish that all living beings, whether on the land, in the air, or in the sea, be touched by our loving kindness. That all those living beings may be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony, and true peace might prevail on our planet within the space of our own lifetimes. We can extend loving kindness further, outwards into the universe around, in all the 6 directions, extending loving kindness in the forward direction, extending loving kindness to the back, extending loving kindness to our left, and extending loving kindness to our right. Extending loving kindness above us, and extending loving kindness below. Extending loving kindness without bounds or limits, until it becomes a sort of universal love, reaching everywhere in the universe, touching all living beings therein, without exception. Again, with the wish that all living beings may be well and happy, free from suffering, live together in peace and harmony. And we can extend love and kindness to particular loved ones, towards those for whom we feel a sense of gratitude, towards those who are still alive, and to those who have already passed. We can extend loving kindness in this way for the last few moments of our meditation practice together, until we come to the appropriate time. Sappaputthānuppāvena, Sappattammanuppāvena, Sappasaṅkhānuppāvena, Sattha Soti Bhavantu Te. So if you'd like to come to the end of your meditation for this morning, you can gradually open your eyes again. feel too uncomfortable, and slowly try changing to a more comfortable position before gradually finishing your practice.